As our continent celebrates Africa Day today, the Eastern Cape Provincial Government hosting a colloquium on Makhanda and the Battle of Egazini, which was fought in 1889 between Xhosa warriors and British colonial forces. The celebration held as the province promotes and profiles wars of resistance that took place in that province between 1779 and 1881. Makhanda was a warrior known for reversing colonial intrusion and their invasion of the Eastern Cape. Siphosethu Booi joins us now. Siphosethu, good afternoon. What's been said there?
Well, Stephen, good afternoon to you and to the rest of our viewers. The actual lecture has not started just as yet, but to speak to us more about the significance of this particular place, which was known as Grahamstown, now changed to Makhanda, is, of course, Dr. Jongi Glass. Dada, thank you very much for making time to speak to us here on Newzroom Afrika. Please speak to us about the importance of Africa Day first.
Thank you. The Africa Day is important because on this day of May 1963, the Organization of African Unity was established in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia by the leading African visionaries of the time. One of them was Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. And it was established in Ethiopia because it's a significant country that was never colonized in Africa. It's a country that can trace its history to 5,000 years back. It's a country that still has its own original calendar. That is why today we're celebrating Africa Day to mark that day of 1963.
But now let's bring it back to the Eastern Cape province, Makhanda in specific. Talk to us about why it was important that this particular event, Africa Day, be celebrated in Makhanda, the significance of this small town.
The reason why the Africa Day is celebrated here in Makhanda, the city lies in the triangle of the longest and the deadliest wars of resistance ever fought in the African continent. These wars were fought from this city to Gqeberha, Graaff-Reinet and Aidutjwa. So it's important because it was here where the British fought Xhosa for the first time in this city in 1811, which marked the beginning of the unparalleled wars which went on for 7 decades. Until the War of Nairobi in 1878. That is why we stand here in this city.
Would you say that it's important for young people to remember Makhanda and, of course, the significance of the word here and what happened here in Makhanda? Most importantly, how can history be prevailed?
I think it's important for people to remember Makhanda because he's one of the heroes who led Xhosa together with the son of Prince Ndlambe, Prince Mdushane. They came to this city and clashed with the colonial forces here in April 1819. This was a second war that Xhosa fought the British. The first one was 1811, and then Makhanda was here in 1819. That war was followed by the War of Yinsa that was fought before Kaiskamahoek in 1835. And then there was the War of the Axe in 1846 in Kaiskamahoek, and the longest and the deadliest War of Mlanje in 1850 to 1853, which culminated to the War of Nairobi in 1878.
And also, just speaking about the history and the significance of Africa Day, how can we as Africans, of course, also celebrate one another, making sure that we also don't disrespect one's culture and also one's background?
I think it's important because from our forebears, we can learn about the courage they had. They innovated military strategies such as the bush warfare. It's very important because from the victories they attained in the battlefield, we can get courage from that and to rebuild our own African identities and to be proud of our history, be proud of who we are, and to know that we are born by some of the greatest leaders who fought some of the deadliest wars in the world.
The issue of unity, it's very important for Africans to unite, but during a time like this in our country and Africa at large, we've got different battles that we're facing and fighting that are quite different to the ones that were fought before the time. How can we really close the gap between South Africans, Tanzanians, Ugandans, you name them? How can we become one and also unite in fighting one another's battles, moving forward and moving the people of Africa forward as a unit?
I think it's important first to understand our history, understand where we come from, and also learn from our forebears who realized the importance of unity at the time. Had they not mastered the art of unity at the time, I tell you, the situation would have been different from now. So we can learn one thing from them, that our forebears were people who were innovative, were people who were visionary, and were people who had what we call ability of adaptability. So for us to be united now is to go back to our history, look at the present, and be able to prepare for the future.
Dr. Jongi Glass, thank you very much for making time to speak to us here on Newzroom Afrika, Stephen, as he makes his way back into the auditorium. And of course, today we will also be seeing Premier Oscar Mabuyane, who's also one of the prestigious guests that are here at the monument in Makhanda, as we learn more and discover the importance of what Africa Day really means to the rest of South Africans and Africans at large. Stephen.
Siphosethu, Booi, thank you very much indeed, live in Makhanda this afternoon.